Introduction. Today we will do a general overview on Baruch Spinoza's Metaphysics, which we see laid out by him in his work The Ethics. Before we go further into his metaphysical work, it is important to speak on the goal of Spinoza, that goal being to create a new form of rational spirituality, so to speak. This is to say that through his metaphysical understanding of the world, he comes to a set of conclusions regarding how one should view the world, or at the very least, feel toward the world. In this video, we will cover the following aspects regarding the philosophy of Spinoza: substance, attribute, mode, finitude, infinitude, and extension. Substance. When Spinoza speaks of substance, he is speaking of being as such, or that which underlies all various modes of being. Substance for Spinoza is necessary existence, in that without substance nothing else can exist, and it is self-necessary, and in itself is necessary, and an eternal truth. Nothing can have a given existence to substance, or else it would not be substance, as to be substance is to be ultimate and indeterminate being, which entails necessarily that nothing can be outside of it, which is also to say that it can't be derived from anything, it is underivative. As if one were to claim that something outside of substance, then one would be claiming that something would be outside of being, which would be absurd because to be is to have being. So therefore, if something has existence, it already has being or substance and is already secondary to substance. In other words, one would be saying something exists outside of existence, but in order to exist, it already has existence. Substance is pure actuality, that is to say, it is the fundamental and necessary ontology prior to all other ontologies or beings. It is pure existence. Being pure act once again necessitates that nothing outside of act or actuality can manipulate or act upon it, as in order to act or manipulate, you must first be in a state of actuality, which only substance can provide, as it is that very thing in essence. Finally, we have a few things that should be mentioned here. When Spinoza speaks of substance, he is simultaneously speaking of God. However, his God is not a conscious or personal one. Rather, it is equated to substance, or being in itself, and is more of a law than it is a metaphysical being with a will. Also, this God of substance is not a transcendent God of another world, but rather an immanent God underlying the various forms of existence, which will be spoken on later. Spinoza's notion of substance is not to be conflated with the Aristotelian universal substance, as they differ in that Aristotle inserts an unmoved mover into his ontology, which Spinoza does not seem to do, as the essence of substance for Spinoza is its existence. Attribute. Attribute is, so to speak, the essence of Spinoza's substance, or the particular traits and qualities proper to substance, which define substance. These qualities proper to substance are necessity, infinity, and actuality. All of these qualities entail one another, as substance must be necessary given its definition, and if it is necessary, it must be actual or exist, and if it is substance and underlies all other modes of existence, it must be infinite, as it is being as such, and that is what infinity is for Spinoza. Mode. Mode is a particular expression of substance with its own specific quality and structure or essence. All distinctions in reality are proper to the category of mode or modification. All the various distinctions, abstract, or in essence, and concrete, what Spinoza calls mode, are what Spinoza calls mode. And mode does not have necessary being. It is rather contingent upon the existence of substance, which is the underlying unity of all distinctions. However, there are forms of mode which are necessary not in themselves, but necessary in relation to another form of mode, in which the mode must exist for the other form of mode to exist. But both still have their ultimate existence in substance, which is the underlying unity of existence, or just existence itself. An example of mode being necessary for another instance of mode would be the need for space to exist in order for time to exist, as time is movement which space is required for. However, space and time are both modes which are underlied by substance. Finitude and infinitude. Finitude for Spinoza takes place in the form of mode, as mode is a finite and particular expression of substance. Infinitude is proper to substance itself, as it being the ultimate and exhaustible being, it is therefore infinite, or I should say inexhaustible rather. It is also that which all modes of being are derived, and therefore infinite in this sense as well. Spinoza also states that we don't often notice the relation of the infinite to the finite. For example, we often think of an infinite line being made up of an infinite amount of points, when in reality, for there to even be these points, there must be an infinite line to allow the points to exist, because points are proper to line. It is the finite that is contained within the infinite, which in this sense would be the point contained within the line. Extension. Extension is a mode of substance that is necessary for all physical phenomena. It is the basis for the particular expressions of what one calls matter, but it is prior to matter in that it only possesses a set amount of necessary qualities for its existence upon which matter and other forms of physical modification can be expressed. These qualities being something like height, length, width, as a general form prior to its modification. Spinoza should not be called a materialist, as it doesn't necessarily appear to be the case that he believes in a distinction between essence and existence, or rather, it is the case he does believe in a distinction between essence and existence, which would entail a distinction between matter and the immaterial, as essences are immaterial. Extension is a primitive modification of substance, and must be the case as it is a specific mode of being in relation to bodies and quantitative determination. And if it's a specific mode of being, then it is not being as such, which would be proper to substance, or which is what substance is in essence. Spinoza also speaks of essence prior to its existence in extension, which leads me to conclude that he is not a materialist in this absolute sense. However, essence would still fall back into substance, as substance is the underlying unity of all modification, and essence is proper to modification, or mode. Substance would therefore have to be prior to materiality or extension, as both of these categories presuppose its existence prior to their own existence, and therefore substance is logically prior to extension and matter, and therefore more ultimate.